Starting October 1st of 2025, there's a big new law change for DUI cases, especially first DUI cases. Before this, there was never a criminal penalty if you refused a breath test for your first time refusing or a first time DUI. Now, everything's about to change. Starting October 1st, the first time you refuse a breath, blood, or urine test, you're getting not only arrested for DUI, well, you've actually already been arrested for DUI, but now they're going to have a separate criminal charge of the crime of refusing to submit to a breath, blood, or urine test. So what are these new penalties? So it is a misdemeanor, and it's a second-degree misdemeanor, which means the max punishment is up to 60 days in jail, 6 months probation, and a $500 fine. Now that's in addition to the criminal DUI penalties. So if you refuse a breath test, you're actually going to get arrested for 2 separate crimes. Now, on one hand, when you get arrested for DUI, you have the criminal penalties, okay? DUI, and then if you refuse, the criminal refusal. But there's also the left hand, which is the DMV suspension process. Now that DMV suspension process is going to remain the same as it was before. So that's not changing, which means if you refuse a breath test and it's your first time refusing, you're looking at a 12-month suspension from the DMV, not from the judge, not from the courts. If it's your second time refusing a breath test, you're looking at an 18-month suspension from the DMV, again, not from the criminal courts. And if you give a breath test and you're over the legal limit, and it's not really if, it's more of a when you're going to be over the legal limit, because everybody's over the legal limit, it's still a 6-month suspension here at the DMV, not the criminal courts. So the DMV remains unchanged by this new law. The part that has changed or will be changing on October 1st, 2025, depending on when you watch this video, if it's before or after the law change, is really just about that first DUI, that first refusal, okay? Meaning they can now get you for a second crime that has additional jail, additional punishments. But so the question that we're getting from, everybody is, well, Adam, what do I do now? What should I do? Should I refuse? Should I not refuse? I was always told that I should refuse. I have police officer friends who tell me to refuse. I have prosecutor friends, lawyer friends. Everybody says refuse and never do it. What do I do? So let's kind of go in and break that down and really talk it through. So technically, no lawyer can tell you to break the law. And now that even a first time of refusing a breath, blood, or urine test is an additional crime in breaking the law, we really can't tell you, oh, you need to refuse every single time. But people that are watching this, y'all are smart people. So what I'm going to do is let me break this down for you, and then you can decide what's best for you. Hint, I'll tell you what I think would be best for me. What would be best for me would be still to refuse. But let me break it down so you guys can really make that decision for yourself. Okay, so on one hand, if you're scared about these consequences, and look, it's an overwhelming situation. The police are there. Most people are good people, and you want to be helpful, and you're psychologically conditioned to respect authority and comply. And maybe if you do what the cops say, it'll be a little easier for you. So so a lot of people just say, well, all right, let me go ahead and do it, right? It'll be better for me, or easier for me. Okay, and they give the breath test. Well, what happens is when you give the breath test, about 95% of the people that give breath tests are over the legal limit. And it's not because 95% of the people are drunk or impaired. It's because there's major problems with these machines. They're calibrated wrong. They're skewed to give higher results. These breath test machines are highly inaccurate. I talk about it in a major deep dive in an entire chapter in my book about Florida DUI law. And real DUI defense lawyers know how to beat breath cases. Okay, that's one of the major differences between criminal lawyers who handle DUI cases and real DUI lawyers who are experts in that field. We know how to win and beat these breath cases. But it makes our job harder. Just because we know how to win, and often we do, doesn't mean we win on every case. And so I always want people to say, look, make our job easier. The easier our job is, the higher likelihood we're going to have of winning your case. So if you can make our job easier, you should, because now we don't need to convince 6 strangers about all the problems with the machine and everything that's wrong with it. We just don't even discuss it, okay? But then you might be saying, but Adam, if I refuse, I'm going to get this extra charge, and what's going to happen with that, right? I'm scared. 2 crimes are worse than 1. Well, here's the way I look and break it down, okay? It's a lesser misdemeanor, and it doesn't have all of those same mandatory penalties that a criminal DUI charge has. Meaning, first of all, it's not a prior DUI. So if, God forbid, this ever happens again, let's say 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you win the criminal DUI charge, but you lose the criminal refusal charge, okay? Odds are we're gonna be able to negotiate some kind of probation on that criminal refusal charge. Odds are you're not going to jail for 60 days, okay? So that's number 1. And number 2, if you have to plead guilty to one of those 2 crimes, it's always better to plead guilty to a criminal refusal charge than a criminal DUI charge, because the criminal DUI charge gives you now a prior offense. So like I was saying, if you get rearrested, then it's now your 2nd DUI or your 3rd DUI, and those can stack on those mandatory penalties against you. Also, even the 1st DUI conviction requires you to have what's called FR44 insurance in Florida. It's very expensive. I'm not an insurance expert, but from what I've heard from my clients and people in the industry is that could cost you as much as $20,000 over the next 3 years that you have to have it. It's a very expensive policy, very high risk, and it's not required on a criminal refusal charge or a reckless driving charge. It's only required on a DUI conviction, not arrest, but conviction. So when you factor in all these things, okay, do your own thought process, do your own due diligence. I can tell you what would work for me if I was ever in that situation, and I would choose to not give a breath test. But I certainly cannot tell you to do that. I certainly will not tell my clients to do that. I just want to make sure that you have the options and truly understand not just how things work in that immediate situation, but after the fact. Look, if you have police officer friends, ask them, say, hey, after the law change, what would you do? And I could tell you most police officers would probably still have the opinion that I have for themselves, which would be if they were in the situation, they wouldn't give a breath test. It's unreliable. It's not trustworthy. It's way too risky. So, but again, judge for yourselves. Hopefully this video has been good for you. If you have any questions, go ahead, ask, drop a comment in, like, subscribe to our channel. Look, you can call us at the Rossen Law Firm anytime. We're here to help. We handle cases all throughout South Florida. You can call us anytime, 754-206-6200.